The road leading into the village center was empty, but in silver moonlight, the small hotel sat at the end of the lane, a rustic two-story wooden building with a hanging sign that creaked softly in the wind. The headlights swept across its faded walls and shuttered windows as Jungkook parked the car near the entrance. You both climbed out, your bodies sore from the long journey. The air had grown colder, a thin fog began curling along the ground. Jungkook stretched his shoulders and glanced around. "This should be it," he murmured, pulling both your bags from the trunk. "Come on, let's get inside before it starts freezing." You nodded, rubbing your palms together for warmth as you followed him towards the front door. But when Jungkook reached for the handle and pulled it didn't budge. Locked. He frowned, tugged it again, then knocked a few times. "Hello, anyone here?" he called out. His voice echoed faintly in the still night. No answer. You sighed, wrapping your arms around yourself. Maybe they closed early. It's such a small village after all. He knocked again, harder this time, his breath visible in the cold air. Still nothing. The two of you exchanged a tired look, his eyes carrying that mix of concern and exhaustion, yours, yours barely staying open after the long drive. Just as you were about to suggest waiting in the car, the side door creaked open. A middle-aged man stepped out, holding a lantern in one hand. His expression was apologetic as he squinted at the two of you. "Ah, sorry," he said, walking closer. "Hotel is closed, my friends." Jungkook straightened. "Closed? We just came from the city. We were told it was the only place to stay here tonight." The man gave a small, regretful smile. "It is, but not right now. We are renovating. Taehyung festival's coming soon, and I want the hotel to look new by then." He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "The workers left early and I locked up. No rooms until next week." You blinked, startled. "Please, there's nowhere else to stay here tonight," you said softly, your voice almost pleading. "We have been traveling for hours," he sighed, looking genuinely sorry. "I wish I could help, miss, but even my house is full. My wife's relatives came over for the festival preparations. I can't do anything." You and Taehyung exchanged a helpless look. He ran his finger through his hair in frustration, exhaling deeply. "It's all right," he said politely. "Thank you anyway." The man nodded, bowed slightly, and disappeared back into the dim light of his home. Silence returned, thick, cold, and heavy. You rubbed your hands together again, your breath coming out in small white clouds. "So, what do we do now?" you murmured, your voice trembling slightly. Jungkook looked at you, noticing how your lips were turning pale from the cold. Without a word, he slipped off his jacket and wrapped it over your shoulders. The warmth of it immediately comforted you. "First," he said softly, brushing a strand of hair behind your ear, "you stop freezing. I'll figure something out. Don't worry." You smiled faintly, whispering, "You came to my village, my hometown, for the first time, and this is the welcome you get." He chuckled quietly. "If it means spending the night under the stars with you, I'll still call it worth it." Before you could reply, a distant voice called out, soft but familiar, "Wayanine." You froze. That voice, gentle, feminine, laced with surprise. You turned slowly towards the sound. A woman stood at the corner of the street, holding a grocery bag. The dim light from the street lamp fell across her face. Your eyes widened. "Yunji." You breathed. Her expression broke into a warm smile, and she hurried towards you. "Oh my god, it is really you?" She set her bag down and immediately pulled you into a hug. "I can't believe this. I didn't expect you to come this year." You smiled weakly, hugging her back, your heart tightening with memories. I wasn't sure myself until the last moment. When she pulled back, her eyes flickered between you and Jungkook. And this must be? You turned towards him, your tone soft. This is my husband, Jungkook. Jungkook bowed, politely smiling. Nice to meet you. Yoonji hesitated for a moment. There was something fragile in her expression. Something between nostalgia and sadness. She smiled nonetheless, bowing back. I am happy for you both, she said gently. You felt a small pang in your chest at her words, at her sad tone, but you smiled. Thank you, Yoonji. She noticed the bags, the exhaustion in your faces and frowned. Wait, what are you two doing out here this late? You explained everything, how Jimin had to leave unexpectedly, how the hotel was closed, how you had nowhere to stay. Yoonji's eyes widened slightly when you mentioned Jimin. He didn't tell you he was leaving, that idiot, she muttered under her breath. Then, with a sigh, she said, well, he's my boyfriend, so I know how scatterbrained he can be. Jungkook smiled a little, finding her tone comforting. Seems like he owes us a dinner when we meet. Yunji laughed softly. Definitely. Then she looked at you again, her tone turning gentle. You can stay at my house tonight. It's too late to be wandering around the village. You both look exhausted. You hesitated instantly. Yunji, I don't think that's a good idea. Jungkook looked at you confused. Why not? You lowered your voice, eyes darting towards the ground. Because her house, that's. Yunji understood before you could finish. Her smile faltered for a moment, but then she reached out and held your hand tightly. Unni, it's okay, don't worry. Mom's asleep right now. She won't even know you are there. And tomorrow morning, I'll shift both of you to my friend's place. She lives alone near the flower field. You bit your lips, still uneasy. I don't want to cause trouble. Yunji shook her head firmly. You're not causing trouble, please, just for tonight. It's too cold and you shouldn't be out here, especially now. Her gaze softened, landing briefly on your abdomen, though she said nothing. Jungkook placed a reassuring hand on your back. She's right, he said quietly. We will only stay for a night, okay? You sighed, looking between them, then finally nodded. Alright, just for tonight. Yoonji's smile returned, small but genuine. Good. The three of you climbed into Jungkook's car, Yoonji in the back seat, you beside Jungkook. As the engine started, she gave him directions through the narrow roads of Haeryong. The streets were almost empty, lined with old houses that whispered of time gone by. You sat quietly, watching through the window as familiar places passed by, each corner carrying a ghost of laughter, of youth, of promise long broken. And as the car turned down the final road leading to Taehyung's house, your chest tightened. The house stood far ahead, shadowed by tall trees. You hadn't seen it since that night. Jungkook's hand found yours warm and steady on your lap. You didn't realize until then that you would be trembling. The headlights watched over the familiar gate, the one that used to creak open every evening when he came running to meet you. You blinked hard, pushing the thought away. Yunji pointed ahead softly. That's the one. You nodded without a word. And as Jungkook drove towards the house, unaware of the weight it carried, you pressed your palm over your heart, as though trying to silence something that was already beginning to stir again within you. The moment Yunji pushed open the creaking wooden gate, the familiar smell of damp earth and old timber hit you. It was faint, but it carried years of memories, ones you had buried deep inside your chest, ones you had sworn you would never revisit. The small yard looked the same, the uneven stone path, the little potted flowers Yunji used to care for, the wind chime hanging by the porch that used to ring whenever Taehyung ran out to meet you. Tonight the chime swung slowly in the cold wind, producing a soft, melancholic sound that felt like a whisper from the past. You stopped near the doorstep without realizing it, your breath catching for a moment as your eyes stung with a sudden rush of emotion. Jungkook paused beside you, glancing at your face with concern. Are you okay? He whispered. You nodded quickly, too afraid to speak because you knew if you replied, your voice would tremble. You forced a smile and said, just tired. He didn't fully believe you, but he didn't push. Yunji unlocked the door and stepped in first, turning on the dim yellow lights of the hallway. The familiar warmth of the house washed over you. Nothing had changed. Same wooden walls, same tiny framed pictures on the side table, same woven carpet. Your heart twisted painfully when your eyes landed on the family portrait hanging near the stairs. Taehyung was in the center of the picture, laughing with his eyes in that way he could. You swallowed hard, forcing yourself to look away, but the nostalgia rushed through you like a wave, pulling you back into movements you thought you had let go of years ago. Jungkook walked in behind you, his hand resting on the small of your back as if sensing your uneasiness. Yoonji turned around with a gentle smile. I'm so sorry, the house is a bit old. We haven't updated anything here, but it's warm and you can rest well after such a long trip. You nodded, trying to steady your breathing. It's perfect, Yoonji. Thank you for doing this for us. Jungkook smiled too. Really, we appreciate it a lot. Yoonji waved it off with a dismissive laugh. Don't be silly, you are a family. At least you were, and in a way you still are. Her eyes softened a little, and you looked down, unsure how to reply. The weight of her words passed against your chest because you knew she still saw you as the girl who once held her brother's heart. She cleared her throat, quickly shifting the mood. Come on, I'll show you the room. I cleaned it earlier today since I thought Jimin's cousin might come, but now you can use it. The three of you walked down the narrow hallway, the wooden floor creaking beneath your feet. As you passed the living room, you glanced inside instinctively, your breath hitching when you noticed the couch. That old couch, the same one Taehyung used to lie on while teasing you endlessly, demanding you to braid his hair or forcing you to watch horror movies even though you were terrified. For a moment, you could almost see him there, laying upside down with his hair touching the floor, whining dramatically, Petal, come here, you are sitting too far. Then laughing when you threw a pillow at him. Your hands trembled, but you quickly pressed them together, hiding the shake. Jungkook didn't notice, but Yoonji did. She paused slightly, her voice softening. You okay? She asked quietly. You forced a faint smile. Yeah, just memories. Yunji nodded, understanding far deeper than your words. She opened the door to the guest room and stepped aside. Here it is. The room was small, two bedside tables, an old dresser, a window overlooking the dark backyard, and a queen-size bed covered with a thick quilt. The air inside smelled faintly of lavender. It looked simple, peaceful, untouched by time. Jungkook carried the bags inside and set them near the dresser with a sigh of relief. Ah, finally, he murmured, stretching his back. I thought I would collapse in the car itself. He smiled at his dramatic tone, and Yunji giggled softly. Rest here for tonight. I'll heat up the dinner for you both, and if you need anything, I'll be in the next room. And Vayan Unne, you looked at her, surprised by the tenderness in her voice. She offered a small, reassuring smile. Don't worry about anything, okay? Not tonight. You nodded, though your heart wasn't ready to relax yet. Thank you, Yunji, really. She waved her hand again. Freshen up, both of you. With that, she stepped out of the room and closed the door gently behind her. The moment the latch clicked, the silence of the house settled heavily around you. You stood in the middle of the room staring at the quilt, your mind spiraling into memories you weren't prepared to face tonight. Jungkook walked up behind you, wrapping his arms around your waist from behind, resting his chin on your shoulder. You look strange, he murmured softly. Is being here bothering you? You close your eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply before answering. It's just been a long time, you whispered. This place feels like another life. He squeezed you gently. If you are uncomfortable, we can leave tomorrow morning as soon as we wake up. You shook your head. No, I'll manage. Just need some time. Jungkook kissed your temple slowly, carefully. I'm right here. Don't overthink. You turned slightly, meeting his eyes, warm, worried, full of love. You gave him a small smile and cupped his cheek. I know. He kissed your forehead again. Good. Now come here. Let's lie down for a bit before we both pass out standing. You let out a quiet laugh and moved towards the bed with him. The quilt was soft and warm, and when he pulled you into his arms under the blankets, you finally felt your body relax a little. Jungkook brushed your hair back, whispering, I'm here. You exhaled slowly, closing your eyes, but before peace could take you, the distant sound of the wind chime outside echoed through the quiet house. A sound from your past, a sound that once meant someone was waiting for you by the porch. Your heart squeezed painfully, but you forced yourself to breathe evenly and pressed your face against Jungkook's chest, reminding yourself that the man holding you was now your present, your safety, your home, the same house where your happiest memories lived and where your deepest wounds had begun. The warm glow of Yoonji's kitchen lamps still lingered in your eyes by the time you and Jungkook stepped into the small guest room. The space was modest, cream walls, a wooden cupboard with rusted handles, a single round window through which the moon spilled silver light onto the plain bed. The room smelled faintly of old wood, herbs, and the distant smoke of someone burning firewood outside. You stood still for a moment, breathing it in, letting your eyes roam over the ceiling that had visible lines where the wood met unevenly. You didn't know why, but something about the simplicity of the room tugged your heart in two. One half comforted, the other aching with memories you tried so hard not to revisit. Jungkook noticed the far away look in your eyes instantly. He always did. Baby, he asked softly, touching your elbow with a gentle tap. Aren't you tired? Come, let's freshen up first, hmm? His voice was slow, warm, protective. Exactly what your heart needed, but also exactly what made your chest heavier with unspoken thoughts. You nodded, forcing a small smile that didn't quite reach your eyes, and walked towards the small washroom at the corner. While you washed your face, cool water dripping down your cheeks, you stared into the cracked mirror, your reflection rippled by the chipped edges. You whispered to yourself, don't think about the past. You're here now with him, everything is fine. But the problem was your heart wasn't listening. When you came out, Jungkook had already changed, his damp hair falling softly over his forehead. He held a towel out for you. Slowly, he reminded worry shining like glass in his dark eyes. The floor might be slippery. His protectiveness made your stomach twist, made you want to melt into his arms and cry, and also made you painfully aware of how fragile you suddenly felt. You sat beside him on the bed and the two of you ate the dinner. Yunji had left a simple spread of rice, vegetable stew, and warm tea. Jungkook blew gently on a spoon before handing it to you, whispering, "It's hot, don't burn your tongue, baby." You tried to focus on him, the way his fingers brushed yours, the way he kept checking if you were comfortable, the way his eyes softened every time he looked at your stomach. But your mind kept drifting away like loose pages in the wind. Memories of taehyung laughing in this village, walking beside you on the muddy roads, collecting fireflies in glass jars they flicked in the back of your mind like ghosts refusing to leave. You blinked hard, but the act didn't go away. After dinner, Jungkook cleaned up everything with quick, practiced movements, refusing to let you lift even a finger. "I told you you are not doing anything," he said with a half scolding, half loving tone. "You will just sit here and look cute." His attempt at teasing you earned a small, soft laugh from you, and he instantly looked proud, as if making you smile was the biggest achievement of his day. Soon, you both lay down again on the slightly creaking bed. Jungkook positioned the pillows carefully behind your back, lifting your head with extreme care. "Comfortable?" he asked for the third time, brushing a strand of hair behind your ear. His fingers lingered there, tracing your cheek with the lightest touch. You nodded again, silently, and he lay beside you, turning slightly so he could face you fully. The small window washed half his face in moonlight, making him look unreal. Your protector, your constant, your safe place. He reached out and placed a hand over your stomach, rubbing gently in comforting circles. "Our baby must be tired too," he whispered with a smile that softened every sharp edges in your heart. "But don't worry, Daddy is here. Daddy is always here." You swallowed, wanting to say something, anything, but your voice felt trapped. Instead, you hummed a soft response, your fingers finding his and intervening slowly. The room was quiet except for the distant chirping of crickets, the soft whistle of wind pushing through the wooden cracks, and your own heartbeat echoing in your chest. "Baby," Jungkook murmured, tugging your hand slightly. "You're quiet today." His thumb brushed your knuckles, slow and thoughtful. "Is your back hurting, or are you feeling nauseous?" He scooted closer, his forehead almost touching yours. "Tell me if something hurts, please." You shook your head, offering a small smile. "Nothing hurts, I'm just tired, Cook." You whispered, but he didn't buy it. His eyes searched your face the way someone would search for a lost treasure. "No," he said gently, "you are not tired. You are somewhere else." His free hand cupped your cheek softly. "Talk to me even a little." Your chest tightened. You didn't want to drag him into your storm, not when he was trying so hard to keep you safe. So you forced a gentle chuckle, brushing your fingers across his jaw. "I'm just thinking about the baby," you said lightly, "about our future." Jungkook's expression softened instantly. He pulled you closer, one arm slipping under your head, the other holding your waist with protective tenderness. "Our future is going to be beautiful," he whispered against your hair. "I'll make it beautiful. Everything that hurt you, everything that broke you, I'll make sure none of it touches you again." You wanted to believe him, and you did, just not enough to silence the ghost. He kept talking, soft, sweet, warm things about baby, places he wanted to take you, the kind of house he dreamed of building someday, how he wanted the baby to look like you because that's the only way the kid will be cute. And you laughed softly, genuinely this time. But beneath the laughter, beneath the warmth of his arms around you, your thoughts continued drifting where you didn't want them to go, towards memory buried in the very village, memories with someone you shouldn't be remembering at all. Jungkook kissed your forehead slowly. "Sleep now, love," he whispered, pulling the blanket over both of you. "I'm right here." You close your eyes and eventually exhaustion pulls you down in sleep, with Jungkook's heartbeat steady against your cheek and your own mind still tangled quietly in memories you didn't dare speak out loud. The night had wrapped the village in a deep, unmoving silence. The warmth of Yunji's little house had long faded, replaced by the cold breath of midnight air seeping through the cracks of the old wooden walls. You slept peacefully beside Jungkook, your breathing soft and steady, your hands resting gently on your stomach. Moonlight filtered through the round windows, casting pale silver stripes across the floorboards, illuminating the worn out patterns acted by years of footsteps. For a while, everything was still, quiet, almost too quiet. But then, in the thickest part of the night, when dreams are the deepest and fears are the fears are the loudest. A faint sound broke through the silence, a soft, slow creak, like a wooden door being pushed open inch by inch. Jungkook's eyes snapped open instantly. His senses were sharp even in sleep, and the moment the sound echoed again, creak, he lifted his head slightly from the pillow, blinking into the darkness. His gaze flicked around the dim room, adjusting to the shadows. His first instinct was you. His hand immediately slid to your arm, checking if you had stirred. But you were asleep, completely unaware, breathing calmly, your body relaxed against him. The creak came again, a bit louder this time, from somewhere near the hallway. Outside the guest room, Jungkook whispered softly, leaning close to your ear. Baby, are you awake? When you didn't respond, he gently brushed his fingers down your arm. Still sleeping. He murmured a quiet sigh, leaving him before he slowly sat up. His hair fell messily across his forehead as he rubbed his eyes, wearing his vision glasses, and stared towards the door. What was that sound? He whispered to himself. The room felt colder suddenly, and Jungkook exhaled and watched the faint fog of his breath, which confused him for a second. Is it that cold? He whispered, touching your shoulder again just to confirm you were warm and safe. He didn't want to wake you unnecessarily, not when you were pregnant and needed rest. Another sound followed. This time it wasn't a creak, but a faint thump, as if someone had gently bumped into the wall, followed by the soft shuffle of feet. Jungkook's eyes widened. Who's there? He called out softly, his voice firm but low, not wanting to alarm you. He waited but heard nothing in reply. The silence stretched out again, heavy and unsettling. Jungkook swung his legs off the bed slowly, his bare feet untouching the cold floor. Probably just the wind, he muttered under his breath, though he didn't believe what he was saying. He padded silently across the room, pushed the door slightly open, and peeked out into the hallway. The wooden corridor was pitch dark, the only light coming from the moon outside. Shadows fell at odd angles, bending across the walls like long fingers. The air felt different, still, charged, almost expectant. Jungkook cleared his throat quietly. "Hello," he whispered, feeling a little stupid for talking to the darkness but unable to stop himself. "Is someone there?" When there was no answer, he stepped out a little more, gripping the door frame. "Yunji," he called out softly, almost embarrassed at the thought of waking her up for no reason. Just as he took another step, the door at the far end of the hallway, an old wooden door with rusty hinges, moved on its own. It opened by 1 inch, then two, then closed again with a soft click. Jungkook froze so completely that even his breathing halted. His brows furrowed deeply. "What the? Okay, that's weird," he whispered, running a hand through his hair. "What is this? A haunted guest room package?" He let out a nervous chuckle, rubbing the back of his neck. It's an old house, Jungkook. Old houses make noises. That's all. He told himself, even though the uneasiness in his chest said otherwise. He slowly turned back towards the room, ready to close the door and go back to sleep. But just then he heard something else. Something soft, very soft. A breath. A long exhale like someone standing right behind him. Jungkook's blood ran cold. He whipped around immediately, his heart hammering, expecting to see someone standing there, Yunji, a neighbor, anyone, but there was no one. The hallway was empty, absolutely empty. He blinked, took a step back, and whispered, "Okay, now I'm hearing things." He pressed his fingers to his temples for a moment. "I'm tired, that's it. Lack of sleep, stress, I'm imagining things." Still, he couldn't ignore the chill in the air, the faint shadow in the corner that looked too solid to be a shadow, or the way the wooden floor creaked under unseen footsteps. But then a faint whisper drifted through the hallway, a voice so quiet Jungkook wasn't sure if it was real. "Go back." Jungkook's heart dropped. He blinked, took a sharp breath, and whispered shakily, "Okay, no, no, I did not hear that. No, I'm not dealing with ghosts. Not tonight." Without another second wasted, he rushed back into the room and quietly, very quietly closed the door behind him. He looked at you, still sleeping peacefully, and he shook his head at himself. "Ash, what kind of scary movies or nonsense is this?" he whispered, climbing back into bed beside you. He turned towards you, wrapping an arm protectively around your waist and pulling you closer. "You are sleeping like an angel," he murmured softly against your hair, calming down instantly just by holding you. "I'm the one seeing nonsense in this old house." You shifted slightly, mumbling something incoherent in your sleep. And Jungkook immediately softened, brushing his thumb over your hand. "It's okay, baby, I'm here," he whispered, closing his eyes. The house groaned again, a long, eerie creak, but this time Jungkook didn't open his eyes. He pulled the blanket higher over you both and whispered, I'm not listening to anything. I'm sleeping. Good night." And slowly, despite the strange sounds, despite the cold whispers, despite the uneasy stillness settling into the night, Jungkook drifted back to sleep, holding you as if you were the only thing grounding him in the darkness.